Richie, can you just explain what pinkwashing is?
Yeah, so pinkwashing is a PR and narrative strategy employed by Zionists to justify the occupation, justify the apartheid, and now to justify the genocide of Palestinians. And the way that they do that is by exploiting the LGBTQ movement and the LGBTQ struggle. So the Zionists will claim that Israel is this, progressive democracy, and they also portray the Palestinians as being like uniquely homophobic or violent towards people of the LGBTQ community. Very recently, there was this group in New York City that got off the ground. I'm not affiliated with them, but they're called Queers for a Liberated Palestine, and they held a pretty big march here in New York City for Palestine. Thousands of people showed up, and online, the Zionists were, quote tweeting pictures and saying, "Oh, if you were in Palestine, Hamas would kick you off of a rooftop, or if you were in Palestine, Hamas would murder you just for being gay," things like that. So it's also the pinkwashing is also using racist tropes to make people feel like this occupation is justified because these are uncivilized people, and it kind of plays into that like white man's burden
Right.
that the US has historically used to justify its colonization, and it's just a repeat of that playbook in real time.
And just going back to the pinkwashing for a second, something that he said, Richie Torres, because I was there, I went there to document the disruption, and I don't have it verbatim, but I found a quote of his in another article, and he basically said this more or less at the event as well. He says, I even remember coming across an activist with a shirt that read Queers for Palestine. I remember telling the activist, does the opposite exist? Are there Palestinians for queers? It was partly a joke, but partly a serious observation. I found it utterly baffling that you had LGBT activists doing the bidding of Hamas, which is a terrorist organization that executes LGBT people. And then I came to realize that the reason is intersectionality, that the BDS movement uses intersectionality to penetrate a whole host of self proclaimed progressive movements. So, does any of you want to respond to that claim,
Yeah.
that
I
assertion?
mean, it's a fairly noxious and extremely racist claim because, first of all, of course, they're queer Palestinians as well, and if they live in Gaza, if they live in the West Bank, they live in societies where they're challenging their social structures and social norms, and so our basis is to be in solidarity with those people. For all of us who are queer in the West, like it's a vital responsibility for us to like take up solidarity in defense of people who are being bombed and live in apartheid, and to watch, like Western queer norms be used as justification and leveraged as a political weapon against people who are already extremely vulnerable is incredibly devastating and incredibly painful. Queer organizing throughout the Arab world is incredibly inspiring. Those of us who have been privy to it are really lucky and inspired by it in the West as well. We recently saw, I think there's a really excellent example of pinkwashing. There was a recent photograph from inside Gaza where an Israeli soldier standing on top of the rubble of homes was holding up a pride flag that said something like "Love is love." The dissonance and the disconnect between the imagery of Western pride in a mass grave really drives home what pinkwashing is used for.
But here's that photo, by the way, that you mentioned, or one of the photos of the pinkwashing. Let me just show you guys this image. So here you have, in the name of love. Here's an Israeli
Yeah, this is
soldier.
exactly the picture I was
Yeah,
thinking about. Oh, I really,
disgusting.
when I look at this, it looks like it looks colonial. You can see how people envision like Western pride as a colonial mechanism because here we are, this proud soldier standing on top of the rubble, probably graves, of people in the name of love, written in three languages. You can see it's written in English, Arabic, and Hebrew.
right. And he's
Like this
standing
like
on the
neo-colonial, yeah.
right, it bombed out Gaza background. He's standing on the ruins of this, and I think there was a tweet like something a flag you'll never see in Palestine. You've never seen before in Palestine. Um, and there was another one where there were two men. One man was proposing like on his knee, giving the other one a ring, like proposing. The irony is, you're actually same-sex marriage happens to not be legal in Israel anyway, but that's kind of another point. But yeah, this is like pinkwashing in one image.
And I'd just like to add that if you even look at, what a lot of this anti-LGBTQIA plus rhetoric is, it's rooted in colonialism. So if you want to actually go that route, that's where it comes from. And if, and I think about it too, who are we meaning like our elected decision makers to use pinkwashing as this weaponization where we now have a speaker who has in the past tried to criminalize gay sex and who is now trying to,
Mike
use
Johnson,
exactly, Speaker Mike Johnson. So who, spoke at the Stand with Israel event that apparently, grew over 200,000 people and along with Mike Hagee. So this
right?
is
The
what
extremely homophobic and anti-Semitic evangelical pastor, right?
Absolutely. So this is, a lot of us queer people, we say, where are we safe even? So who, what does it mean to weaponize queerness in this way to exploit our identity and our experience to justify a genocide is absolutely apprehensible.
Also, I've always been so confused. It's like, if you care about LGBTQ people in Palestine, which these people are claiming to do, obviously cynically, do you think that they want to be bombed?
I've always wondered about this justification too, because it's like, are we bombing homophobes now? Because there's an entire list of Americans that
Right.
we can, American officials, not to like advocate for bombing
No,
American
right.
officials,
We're
of
not,
course, but it's
yeah.
like, if that's what the argument leads to, like that it boils down to they're homophobic, so bomb them, then where else can we target that? And so that's why it's just on its face absolutely absurd and utterly
Right.
racist.
But also the other people who get bombed are the queer people in
Yeah.
Palestine. And the only way that doesn't happen is if you're totally erasing these people, you know, or you're that racist that you actually think that there aren't queer people in Palestine. And I never know which one it is. Who knows with these people?